Here's why overthinking is killing you.
Here's the deal. Your repeated thoughts are your soundtracks.
AKA the movie scores to your life. It's time to face the music. So I was listening to this audiobook.
All right, cheese and crackers. This is terrible audio. Hi, it's Future Riley here, and somebody thought it was a good idea to go to a Denny's. It's like, oh, it's going to be cool. It's like you're just sitting down for lunch. It's a terrible idea. I'm just going to voice over the rest of the segment. So what I was talking about was this audiobook I've been listening to by John Acuff. It's called Soundtracks, and the whole idea is that when we have these repeated thoughts, which we all do, they kind of form these soundtracks in our minds. Basically, these things that repeat in our minds, this background music of self-dialogue, is just like ever present there, shaping how we think about ourselves. But here's the catch. A lot of times these soundtracks, these repeated thoughts about ourselves, they're not always very constructive. And we should actually interrogate them to think about the soundtrack, to think about those things that we're repeating to ourselves. So we're going to talk about 3 questions that we need to ask about our soundtracks. But before I go into those 3 questions, we really need to understand the principle behind our thoughts. And I could say it, but honestly, I think Andrew Huberman could probably say it better.
The interesting thing about thinking is it's very hard to control our spontaneous thoughts. So for instance, I can't prevent myself from thinking something. However, I can deliberately introduce a thought. People forget this, that one of our enormous powers as human beings is I'm going to write out my name, I am Andrew, or I can think I am Andrew. Now it takes a little bit of work. You kind of notice to think something specific, like you would write it out in your head, just as you would write it out on paper. It feels like a little bit of work because it is work. You're taking that spontaneous thought process and you're inserting a thought on top of it.
So yeah, your thoughts, it's time to ask questions about them. So let's go back and do that. All right, so here's the 3 questions you have to ask about your thoughts. When a thought gets stuck in your head, the first question you really have to ask is this thought true? Is this a repeated thought? Is this a soundtrack that repeats in my head? I have to ask this question, is it true? I'm gonna use myself as an example here. Like, I have this recurring kind of perspective, this self-dialogue that I'm not the most organized person, which I know is kind of ironic because I like to make YouTube videos about productivity. And I kind of even have this like running joke where I'll be like, yeah, it's kind of funny. The only reason I do this stuff is because I need it so bad, which is, I mean, it's kind of true, but as a repeated thought, if I have to interrogate it, if I have to ask this question, is it true? The honest answer is no. I actually think I've improved a lot as a person. I've grown a lot in terms of being more organized and more productive. Maybe I don't see it as my natural strength, but if I just was like, yeah, I'm terrible at productivity, that's just not true. It's something that I've grown a lot, and I've done a lot of work on myself to actually get there. Which takes us to the second question. Is the thought going to help you accomplish your goals? Is this repeated soundtrack, this thought that you have about yourself, is it going to actually help you accomplish your goals? Now, one of my biggest goals right now is actually building up my website, my newsletter, this YouTube channel to help people like be more productive, but with a purpose, to like take all the productivity hacks and stuff on YouTube, but actually apply it to your personal values. Like, that's my goal. That's what I want to do with this YouTube channel. Now, back to the second question. Is the soundtrack that, I'm not that organized, I'm not that productive, I'm not really good at it, like is that going to help me accomplish this goal? No, it's not going to help me accomplish it at all. It's not going to help my confidence. It's not going to help me feel excited and comfortable about talking about these things. Like, it's literally, there's nothing about that soundtrack that's going to help me accomplish my goals. Then we're going to get to the clearest and most obvious and most fundamental question that you have to ask yourself about your soundtracks. But before we do that, I want to do a quick plug. It's for Shortform. It's literally the app that is like book summaries on steroids, not like cheap, crappy AI summaries that are surface level. It's like an actual human being goes through the book and writes out the key points and key takeaways, and even like correlates it with other research and other books in the topic. And that's, since I listened to soundtracks on audiobook, because that's how I listen to almost all my books. So this was really helpful, where I went back and used Shortform to just go back and like reference what were some of the key points and takeaways from soundtracks that I wouldn't have otherwise had because I was listening to the audio version. So question number 3, is this thought going to make me feel good or crappy? Like, it's a really simple question. When I have this recurring thought, this soundtrack, do I just feel crappy about myself? there's your answer. It's a soundtrack that needs to be replaced. But that's the good news, because going back to the Andrew Huberman quote, like, you can replace your soundtracks. You can replace your thoughts. It takes intentionality. It takes time and dedication and effort to write down the soundtracks that you want to have in the like motivational Rocky montage of your life. This was a short, simple one. Hope you guys enjoyed it. For more videos about productivity with purpose, subscribe to the YouTube channel. And until next time, may the force be with you always.